So for today's video, we're going to be talking about one of my least favorite streamers, and of course it's going to be Asmongold, because as most of you have already heard, he may have made the biggest mistake of his career. Now, for anybody who's a repeat viewer, who knows me, anybody who's watching this, I hope you're sitting down because you're about to hear some of the most based, some of the hottest takes I've ever had in any of my videos. So this is where the story starts. What happens when you ask an uneducated moron about the conflict going on in Israel and Palestine?
If you want to consider a genocide as a systematic killing of a group of people, they have genocide built into Sharia law right now. So no, I'm not going to cry a river when people who have genocide that's baked into their laws are getting genocided. I don't give a fuck. They're terrible people. It's not even a question. It's crazy that people don't see it that way. They'd be doing the same thing. And how much did they kill? As many as they can. They're not able to kill as many people as Israel because they don't have as many bombs and as many weapons. But if they did, they'd be doing the same thing. That's it. Just takes enough. That's right. These people are not your allies. They are not the same as us. They come from an inferior culture that is horrible. It kills people for their identity, and it is directly antithetical to everything Western values stand for, and it is an inferior culture in all ways. It is that simple. No, I don't feel bad for them. I don't feel sorry for them. I don't care. I don't support them.
There are a lot of things that need to be properly addressed in this video. There are a lot of horrible things that Asmongold said, and there are some things that need to be reviewed a little bit more. So we're going to start with the former rather than the latter first. For starters, Asmongold in this clip does completely disregard the suffering of the Palestinian people. He even goes as far as to say that if they're currently being genocided, he has no sympathy for them. He does not care. He even goes on to say, fuck them. Very, very loaded words, very apathetic to the suffering of these individuals. And honestly, this is not really surprising. Is this horrible? Is this bad? Yes, I have to make that clear, because there are going to be some people that are watching this saying, oh, so you don't care either? The reason I'm saying is that this isn't surprising because Asmongold has gone on the record before to say that he actually does not really value human life all that much. It's something that he has talked about in depth in a previous video that he uploaded onto his channel.
I've always had a big problem with being able to relate to other people because I think that I'm just a little bit off, right? I wouldn't say that I don't have a moral compass, but I would say that my moral compass doesn't point north. And this has been a problem in a lot of cases in my life, whether it's with relationships or friendships or anything in between. I've had a lot of problems because of that. And in the process of this, I've learned a lot of things about myself. And the main thing is that my take and my view on moral issues is not really what I would say a normal person thinks. People thought that I was a little bit off, a little bit weird. Like one time, like for example, there was a kid that I was like playing with baseball with him, and he was annoying me, making me mad. And so I hit the ball, and I hit it with the explicit intention of hitting him in the face with the ball, and I did. And everybody was standing around like what the fuck, like what, this is like terrible. And I remember walking up, this was like the best day of my fucking life. This happened.
Now, some Asmongold fans would argue, yeah, this guy has changed. Asmon has definitely changed for the better. He's a better person. But the sad reality of that fact is that he hasn't really changed for the better as a person. Rather, as he himself puts it, he simply puts up a performance, an act, because he acts based on how people react. He doesn't actually innately know what is morally wrong or morally right.
I used to have my mom read me all of the different like sins in the Bible and everything, because I understood even as a little kid. I'm like, there's something wrong with you. You know, like you better learn this so that way there aren't any problems in the future. And so I would have her read all of these to me. That way I would understand how to behave, right? Because it just never came naturally to me. Things that come naturally to other people were not natural and are not natural. It's not like things have changed. If anything, they've probably gotten worse. As I've gotten older. And so I've always had a big problem being able to like understand like where, how you should act, how you should treat people, what you should do, how you should say things, etc. So almost everything that I do is a learned performance rather than an innate social, instinct, if that makes sense.
Notice how he says, and I quote, "It's not like things have changed. In fact, they've probably gotten worse." So as we can all acknowledge right now, it's not like Asmongold has a particularly good moral compass. Is Asmongold a complete heartless creature for saying these things? Yes, absolutely, but one thing he's not necessarily wrong about is Sharia law. As some of us may know, Sharia law is an incredibly oppressive group of Islamic laws that also violate human rights in some cases. Now, before any of you misunderstand me or miscontextualize what I'm saying, I have to be very clear. While Sharia law is an incredibly oppressive group of laws, what Asmon did with this information is that he generalized it ignorantly, I might add, and then he applied it to an entire culture of people and dehumanized them while generalizing them in their entirety. While there is a noticeable amount of extremist groups, that does not make it okay for Asmon to excuse the suffering of children, women, and other innocent individuals that are caught up in the middle of this conflict. This is something that Asmon seemingly does not understand because he lacks empathy, he lacks a moral compass. And just to hammer this down, Asmongold, after 3 hours in a debate with Hassan, he still holds on to this superiority complex and refuses to acknowledge how a genocide is worse than a select few of religious extremists.
Yeah, no, I could see the genocide being worse. Yeah, sure. I could definitely see that. I don't like the I don't like the idea that culture is equivalent to ours. I think it is very problematic. I think it's very bad. I don't think it should be judged the same way. It doesn't mean I'm not sympathetic to them. Of course, right? Of course it's bad this happens. But whenever there is a state that's upholding something that is killing groups of people based off of their identity, or a group of people that's doing that, whether it's a government or some sort of like regime or anything like that, I think it's very easy to say that that's bad. I don't think that saying that, like different types of persecution is for one reason or another, like okay because they're being being occupied in some way or another, right? I don't really see how these two things are related because they're not being occupied by gay people. They're not being occupied by trans people. They're being occupied by Israelis. So
yeah,
it's
exactly.
like if you're
which is why they're
if
not
you're hating gay people and you're making that against the law.
No, that's a good point, Asmon. That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's why they're not like, if you think right now or at any point Hamas is like, we really got to fucking deal with these homosexuals in our ranks, like, you're out of your mind. That's not what's going on at all.
I don't think that's the case at all. Of course not.
Okay, so when
the dust settles and then they start killing gay people, what are you going to say?
Okay, but you can't hypothesize a future where they're going to do that when there is no fucking like evidence that they're going to do that in a free and a completely emancipated sovereign nation state. That's what my point. The assumption that they're going to do that is the bigotry. That is where we're at odds.
Funnily enough, Hassan, another person that I absolutely detest, makes a really good point. Who are we to assume that something is going to happen in the future without evidence? And that's honestly something that I'm going to have to take the L on myself, because that's an issue that I personally struggle with as well. Who am I? Who are we to assume that these individuals are going to do these atrocities in the future if there's no evidence to suggest that, because it hasn't happened yet? Of course, this isn't enough for me to give Hassan a full pass just yet, because of course there are horrible things that he said and done as well, and it's things that he should have been banned on Twitch a long time ago. Which brings me to Asmongold's apology and his Twitch ban. Apparently, Twitch banned Asmongold for about 14 days. We're not sure how accurate that is though, because it was information reported by Slasher, so take that as you will. Anyway, this is Asmongold's response. Looking back on it, I was too much of an asshole about the Palestine thing. My bad. Of course, no one deserves to have their life destroyed, even if they do things or have views I find regressive. You guys deserve more than me saying stupid shit like that. I'll do better. Of course, while this apology is awful, I do have to say that I don't believe Asmongold should have been banned for expressing his opinion. Some people were saying that he deserved to be banned because of Twitch's terms of service in regards to hate speech, bigotry, and other forms of racism. In my opinion, while what he did say was incredibly heartless and thoughtless, I do want to say that I don't believe anybody should be banned for expressing their concerns or opinions, especially in the case of Asmongold, despite how horrible it may sound. But since Asmongold did get banned, it actually brings into question the double standards at Twitch and how they're unwilling to ban other people for facilitating similar types of hate speech, or worse, such as Hassan platforming a literal terrorist. Of course, there is a conversation to be had about anti-Semitism on Twitch and other forms of racism. However, that's a discussion for another day. That being said, Asmongold was in fact forced to step down from two companies that he was a founder of, OTK and Starforge PC. Shortly after both of these companies made their statements, Asmongold did make an apology video over on YouTube. However, I actually do not want to cover the apology video in this video because, in my opinion, I don't really know what to make of it. I don't know if he's being sincere. I don't know if he's being disingenuous, especially when you consider the fact that Asmongold himself has said that he adjusts his behavior and the way that he acts, his performance, based on how other people react, so that people could see him in a favorable light. But to paraphrase, in that video, he does mention how he realized that he came across as a complete asshole. He does realize that he may have been a little bit too disconnected from reality and how other people are affected, and he does mention that he wants to make some changes to his life that will also change him for the better. He also mentions how he wants to clean his house or attempt to clean his house without the assistance of a cleaner. Why he's doing that exactly? Well, he said that to him it's a penance since he was raised Roman Catholic. Time will only tell if he's actually being sincere in this video or not. This all leads me to the final part of this video, Asmongold's statement over on Reddit. The Reddit post goes as follows: why apologize? Because it was retarded to use Palestinians interchangeably with religious fanatics and terrorists. Obviously, not all people in Palestine are trash. It's really not that complicated. Also, it wasn't just that issue. Don't let yourself become ideologically captured by a worldview to the point where it makes you so unreasonable that you turn on what you're fighting against. Hassan, no one wins when I stand behind a statement that's false or a mischaracterization. My fucking dad told me over a year ago I was getting too harsh on my stream and I ignored him. Same with a lot of real life friends. I think I've just been increasingly more hostile and negative, and that brings a bad vibe to the stream. A good comparison: Dragon Ball Sparking Zero playthrough versus Wukong playthrough. Basically, what I'm trying to say is I want more Sparking Zero playthroughs and I never want to play Wukong again. The vibes and feel of the stream recently has been a lot more tense, and a lot of that is my fault. If you think that means my first stream back is going to be playing Dustborn and promoting Sweet Baby, I think you'll be very disappointed. I'm not changing anything other than trying to be more positive and less mean-spirited. Also, sponsors had nothing to do with it. This wasn't even in the top 5 worst things I've said. I've wanted to step away from leadership and take a break from all of that for a while now, for over 1 year, because the amount of commitments compounded on top of maintaining my streaming schedule was unironically ruining my life. Also, if I'm not involved with them, why would it matter what I say? Hopefully you all can see how this is really a macro issue and not just a situation. My life has actually been fucked for a while now and I need to fix it. I am a 34-year-old single man living in his mother's house with dead animals and garbage. Although I don't hate it, I don't want to die this way. Again, I'm not really too sure what to make of this. This could be entirely genuine, it could be entirely sincere, it could be entirely the opposite. He could just be lying through his teeth. I'm not sure. Although I do have to say, for the sake of charitability, Asmongold in both of these apologies, the one in the video and the one here, seem to be pretty consistent. The expressions are pretty consistent. He acknowledges how his words affect other people. He acknowledges that he seems to be a little bit hostile, how he seems to be more aggressive than usual. He acknowledges that his behavior has become more negative over the past year, and even in the past, he has acknowledged that there is a lot of stress in his life from his responsibilities. So there is a possibility that he is being sincere. Again, make of it what you will. He even acknowledges that he unfairly generalized a group of people and categorized them incorrectly, which is a huge move in the right direction. It shows that he is learning and acknowledging that what he said is wrong. So make of it what you will. Understand it, interpret it whichever way you want to. I just want to be charitable for the sake of fairness. Anyways, that's all I got for today. Later.